day Dusty has had, and it's not even May yet. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. Yeah, ready to kick things off here, ready to get things underway. It's great to be with you, and thanks for joining us. We'll be here over the next hour talking about the latest with Michigan football. And Michigan, you may have heard of the big Spaniard, Ade Mara, linked to Michigan, and it has become official this afternoon. He is committed, and he's coming to Ann Arbor to play for Dusty May next year. Yeah, he's a big fellow. We'll get to more on Mr. Mara coming up and the basketball team, but, you know, it's good. You know, Dusty, it's a worn-out phrase already, but, I mean, he is cooking. He is, there's no doubt. He is taking this basketball program at Michigan, and he's got it. You know, he's got what you're looking for. And what you're looking for is a good coach who knows how to handle all these things that are going on in 2025, and he looks like he does. We'll get to some buzz when it comes to both football and basketball. But, yeah, the big news with basketball is Mara, and we'll give you a little breakdown on Ade Mara, who committed to Michigan this afternoon. We're going to start with a little bit of football. And a little bit of football, Evan Link talked to the media on Wednesday, and Big Link is over there at left tackle, and he was asked about Chip Lindsey's offense, the new Michigan offensive coordinator, obviously, and what kind of effect that he is having on this team. And here's what Link had to say.
Let's see. So I definitely say we definitely are throwing the ball a bit more downfield, which is pretty nice to see, just because Bryce and Jaden and all of them really, they throw really, really good deep balls, and we got some good receivers down there to catch them now. And so, I mean, it's definitely bringing a little bit more fun back to there's a bit fun to the offense. I mean, every time you pass blocking and you see a 70-yard bomb go by, you're like, oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah, I guess we get to go on the field now. So it definitely brings a little bit of spirits back to everybody, and now it's good.
And what have you seen from that quarterback room?
Brings the spirits up for everyone watching those 70-yard bombs sail out there. And, you know, it's one of these things where you can say you can believe it or not. It doesn't mean that Michigan's going to be throwing the ball more than they're going to run it. In fact, I don't think anybody out there really believes, especially in the early going with Bryce Underwood as the quarterback, I don't think anybody out there thinks Michigan's going to be a pass-happy team, going to throw the ball. Like I said, more than they're going to run it. But having the capability of a quarterback now, they didn't have that last year. Davis Warren in practice was able to air it out, but they've got a capable college quarterback, even though he's still should be in high school, and he's going to be the guy under center. It's nice to be able to, if needed, to stretch the field and take the top off of a defense and all of those kind of things. And you like winning, you like touchdowns, you like entertainment, you like all that. Part of that, you like bombs. You like the deep ball. I mean, it's who doesn't like in baseball? It's the home run. It's the three-pointer and slam dunk. It's the bomb. And, Michigan's bringing that to the table coming up this year. So that's something that you like to hear from a player about spring practice. And you never take and go too far when it comes down to practice. Like even what Link had to say there, throwing the ball 70 yards. I don't think. I think he was exaggerating a little bit. 70 yards. maybe it was from the 30 and the guy caught it at the 20 and went in. I'll go for a 50-yard bomb, but 70 yards. I mean, if I were to take that, wait a second now, 70-yard bomb. Now you're really talking about. But anyways, it's good to hear. Now, a bunch of things going on. A top quarterback in college football is holding out until he gets a better deal in spring. There's something that we got to get to there. I also, with the NFL draft right around the corner, I've got a trivia question that I wanted to put out there for everyone to see what we're dealing with here when it comes to the Michigan fan who's watching this. It is time out for trivia here on the Maize and Blue Review. Michigan has had 3 players chosen in the first round of the NFL draft on 2 occasions in their history. They have had 3 players picked in the first round of the NFL draft twice. Likely to be 3 this year when you have Mason Graham and Colston Loveland and Will Johnson. Hey, you want to say maybe 4 for the first time ever with Kenneth Grant? That wouldn't be super shocking, but I think 3 is more likely than not to happen, and that's happened. That's been done 2 times before. How many? So we'd be looking for 6 players, 3 in 95 and 3 in 01. How many of those players can you come up with? So go ahead and give that a shot when you're working on the feedback. Speaking of the spring game, it is what is going to be a week from tomorrow. So last year, you said, well, where are you going to be? If you head on down to the spring game, I want to say hi to you. And I will be, and if you are watching this on YouTube, you see the 3 arrows that is just inside the gate in Stadium and Main. You cross over from Pioneer at the light, and then you go into that gate there, and then just inside, there's this statue of this eagle. And it is the Michigan Stadium Memorial Eagle that I was reading about, the sculptor who also, if you're familiar with the Spirit of Detroit, right there downtown, that when there's a big playoff series or, like they'll put a jersey on, a Lions jersey. We've seen Wings jersey, Pistons, Tigers. Maybe last year they put a Tiger. Same sculptor that did the Michigan Stadium Memorial Eagle when they donated it, or when did they donate it? When they dedicated it in 1950. So that's where I will be prior to the spring game. Come on down and say hi. Now, hey, look, if you're tailgating, over here, the blue lot on the other side, or you got a real hookup at Champions East, hey, hang out, and stay where you're at. But if you're just in there like, hey, why don't we go over to the War Memorial? The Maize and Blue Review will be over there. And yeah, I would like to see you. We had a couple people come on by last year. It was pretty cool. Oh, there's Jerry D'Ario. Jerry, I just talked with him. He's down in Florida at Daytona Beach. And Jerry stopped by, and he didn't confirm 100% that he'd be able to make it next week, but I'm guessing that he's going to be over there as well. And so Ferris was there. That's right. Ferris, you came by, and Ferris saying that I gave him a souvenir score sheet and a photo. There it is. That is the way to go. So yeah, it was great to see Ferris, and Ferris is all over the internet anyway, so I already knew what he looked like. So there you go. Let's see. On my trivia question, 95 and 2001, Michigan had 3 first-rounders. Urabi is saying Ty Law. That's one. He is also saying Wheatley. There's 2. Nice job. Now that's a Michigan fan right there. What he's talking about. So that's some house cleaning when it comes down to some of the things with the spring game coming up, as we'll be in game week, so to speak, as we get there when we come back on Monday. Michigan just got the commitment in basketball from the 7'3" Spaniard, Ade Mara. You want to know about what's left for Dusty and April before we get to May and how everything looks? And the same thing in recruiting. Oh, we got some football recruiting news to get to as well. You can know all of this before everyone else by doing what? Joining the Maize and Blue Review. You do that by going to michigan.rivals.com. Why not join the Maize and Blue Review today? You want to know more about Michigan. You want to be involved with Michigan fans. You want to talk about, Michigan sports, recruiting, all of that. Go to michigan.rivals.com. We'll see you over there. We look forward to it for sure. Now, this weekend, if this was not last year, because they would have had a chance, but, in years past, I think we spent a lot of time talking about 5 stars that, 5-star from Alabama coming up to Michigan in the spring. You'd have a little bit of an eye roll. You'd say, there's no chance, really. It's a shot in the dark. It's very unlikely that Michigan would be getting a guy like Anthony Jones, who's going to be visiting this weekend in Ann Arbor. He's out of Alabama. And he's a 5-star, and he's the top-ranked edge in the country, a top 20 player overall, and a legitimate 5-star. But now, with the way Michigan is rolling, you get a chance to get a guy like AJ coming in, Anthony Jones. Michigan's got a legitimate shot because Michigan has everything to offer to Jones. Now, he might just want to stay down south and stay home. You get that. But it's not going to be because of money. It's not going to be somebody dropping a bag like the other 99 times out of 100 that a Southern player ended up high-talented out when Michigan looked like they had a shot. So, put a big smile on your face and follow the recruitment of Anthony Jones, who will – and the way Michigan edges – if I was a 5-star edge, I'd go to Michigan. You look at the just long line now of players that at that position on this Michigan defense. And I think Anthony Jones, even without meeting him or talking with him, he's a smart kid. He's coming up as an edge thinking, hey, what about Michigan? Also in this week is a 4-star who's verbally committed right now to Auburn, but that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. It means something. But could Michigan flip Shadarius Tootle? Toodle-doo. I think he could. He is a 6'3" big linebacker, a 4-star, who's a almost top 75 player in the country, 77th nationally. He will be in. And I just think when you got one guy, Mobile. Is it Mobile or Mobile? I think it's Mobile. Mobile, Alabama. That's where AJ goes. And that's where Shadarius Tootle is from as well. Not the same high school, as you can see, St. Paul's and then Cottage Hill Christian Academy, but both from Mobile, Alabama. Maybe 2. It won't be the price of 1. It'll be the price for 2. But the possibility of 2 guys coming up, and I wouldn't necessarily call that a package deal. I would just say, hey, 2 guys from Mobile, Alabama could end up in the Maize and Blue. So certainly something to monitor. Definitely keeping an eye on Anthony Jones and then Shadarius Tootle. AJ and Tootle. You get a name like Shadarius Tootle, you just want that, you like the stars, you like the position, you like how he looks, and you like the name. So let's go. Nothing not to lie about Shadarius Tootle when it comes down to it, at least where I'm sitting and what I'm looking at. I mentioned the Maize and Blue review yesterday. There was some good stuff from Trevor McHugh. I put his tweet that he had. He's got all of this spring intelligence. And to scratch the surface, McHugh was saying Bryce Underwood looks like that guy. I would say, and a little bit more on that in a moment, that Bryce Underwood definitely does look like the guy for Michigan. You have been following Michigan your whole life, but what you know and what I am emphasizing right now is that since Bryce Underwood flipped to Michigan back on November 21st, this has been the trajectory of the program, which was really on a downward tilt, spiral even. And it's tough when you're spiraling one way or the other to get it going back up the other way. But the Underwood flip did exactly that. Michigan put 50 points on a couple days later as Underwood was in attendance at the Big House against Northwestern to get bowl eligible. Then 13-10 the following week. How about that? And then the ReliaQuest Bowl, which nobody, myself included, thought Michigan was going to win that game. And they put together that dominant first quarter and cruise to the 19-13 victory over Alabama, where almost everyone on the defense is coming back, played in that game, and they played pretty well. Everything has looked up for Michigan since Underwood has committed, and it's did he have anything to do with the win at Northwestern or Ohio State or Alabama, or is it just where you feel and you listen to Evan Link say, oh man, it's just having a guy that can throw the ball the length of the field, he gets you jacked up a little bit, gets you a little fired up. Even if Michigan is known for smash. McHugh talking about the corners, maybe Shug Hill at one. I found out this week that his nickname is Shug because you know what? He likes sugar. Not bad. I was thinking Suge Knight was the only Shug that I knew, but Shug like sugar. Shug short for sugar. Zeke Berry, who can play nickel, and Michigan's playing a lot of their corners at nickel and, swapping them around, getting that versatility and everything else. But Berry last year already was out at corner of the nickel, and maybe he will be the corner. And then Earls, who, if there's a player that has the most hype in spring after Bryce Underwood, it is the corner, Shamari Earls. No doubt Underwood, number one, in terms of hype, the position that he plays, where he was ranked and everything else. No doubt it's BU. Number two, Earls. When it comes down to spring hype, spring buzz, whatever, we know we take it all with a grain of salt, but if somebody says, what's the word with Michigan? What are people saying? They're saying that Underwood looks like that guy, and they're saying that Shamari Earls is rising fast. Big Trey Williams, I saw a picture of the Michigan transfer tackle, defensive tackle. He was out with, who was he? He was next to Rayshawn Benny, talking about Trey Williams. And then Michigan starting edges in Derek Moore and TJ Guy. They had those four. And Williams wearing that big 0. That big bullseye on his chest. I also saw him swinging a golf club. He had the interlock grip. Take what you can get. But you want more of that spring buzz, check it out with McHugh over on the Maize and Blue review. All kinds of good stuff going on there. Richard talking about accuracy and how it matters and saying that Underwood's a real threat. I agree. I'm going to get a little bit more. I'm going to, if somebody says, who do you think is going to be Michigan starter for the New Mexico game? Everyone now is going to say Bryce Underwood. I'm going to say Bryce Underwood, but I'll put a percentage on it for a second. Winged cap. Just make sure our two tackles are official Don't want him taking unnecessary shots. Keep the franchise upright. Well, WC, let me add something. I was talking with a former Michigan football player today, and I was picking his brain a little bit. I was hoping that he was going to say, you know what, I've been down to practice, and here's what I see, and this, and I was going to be sitting here taking notes and delivering it all to you. I didn't get that. But what I got was what this former player had to say about Bryce Underwood, and I think Wing Capped would agree. This is not the most insane. I think that's what a lot of the younger folks like to say. I see it, splashed across the headlines. Insane comment from former, player on Underwood's possible success this year. It's not quite that. But he said Underwood is going to be helped more than anything by a good offensive line. And to further it, quote, that's the key to Michigan football in 2025. It is the Michigan O-line. It's going to help out Underwood. It helps out an offensive line. You can almost say that for anything, and you could almost say that every year, almost at any time for Michigan football. But if you're thinking about putting a just turned 18-year-old precocious under center and having him let it fly, I don't think, although I think he's going to play well against New Mexico, I don't think that he's just going to be whipping it all over the yard and throwing 70-yard bombs right off the bat all the time and just be like the best quarterback in the Big Ten, if not the country. I don't think that's going to happen right away. I don't think that's going to happen until year 2. So I'm thinking more and more than serviceable as the experience and the game speed and all of that. That's going to take it's going to take a minute. But he's going to be helped out more than anything by, the offensive line. Richard can't make the spring game. That's all right. We'll be talking about Ferris. Is he making the spring game? Ferris wants somebody to live stream the spring game since he cannot be there and there's going to be a tape delay. Is anybody going to do it, or do you need to hire someone like Connor Stallions? Yeah, I think that there will be people doing it. This is one spot where I don't think that I can. I think that I might be getting an email if I said, hey, I'm going live during the spring game. So just forget the tape delay the following week. Forget anything else. I'll be live during the game. Now, that would be, I don't think there's actually now that I'm talking it through, I'm stumbling it over. If I was sitting in the press box, I believe actually there probably is a rule during press conferences. You're not allowed to have the live footage. There is that note there. But if you were sitting in the stands, if I was sitting in the stands, could I have a live feed? And I think that answer would be yes. I'm not doing that, but I will be taking some pictures and videos, and if you want to live the Michigan spring game and you can't be there, I am going to be on the Maize and Blue Review on the Den. I'll be the first person at that up there in the press box if they let me in, talking about what I have seen. All right, we have, going back to the trivia question, just 2 times in Michigan's history have they had 3 first-round draft picks. In 95 they did it, and in 2001. And just saying is correct. In 2001, David Terrell and Steve Hutchinson We're 2 of the 3, so you need 1 more. And I'm just saying, the guy that was playing right next to Steve Hutchinson got drafted right after him. And so if you got Hutchinson, I feel like you should get the other one, because I think you got and if it was tough, I love David Terrell. And, it didn't work out for him. He wasn't great in the NFL, but he was great at Michigan. David Terrell is always a good trivia question where it comes down to, the bowl game that Michigan beat Alabama, where the Tide missed the extra point. Was it 2000? The 2000 Orange Bowl, where Tom Brady and Michigan beat Alabama, and it was the missed extra point, and U of M won it. Who was the MVP of the 2000 Orange Bowl? Most Michigan fans immediately say, it was Tom Brady. Tom Brady. It was not Tom Brady. It was David Terrell. That's where Lloyd Carr was figuring something out. Lloyd was hesitant to really open it up and go crazy throwing the ball. Michigan got down 2 scores, and like, well, Tom, it's the only thing we can do. Let's throw it. Then he started throwing the ball, and then Michigan tied it up. Then they got down 2 more scores. He's like, all right, we got to open it up again. So they started throwing it again. David Terrell. And then in 95, we've got 2. So we got 2 out of the 3 in both 95 and 2001, Ty Law and Wheatley. I'll say the third one in 95 is going to be a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to really know what you're doing. Jay's on to some basketball already, talking about Yaxel going to the NBA. If he comes with this class that we have in, look out. I agree. Look out. You're right about that. I wouldn't give up. I don't think Ripstar's given up on Yaxel. If Yaxel Lindenborg, I'm going to have to get one of those, I'm going to say kids. They are kids, but actually they're I'm going to say young adults. You get one of those milk cartons, jugs, and you put Borg on there. I'll get a Yaxel Lindenborg if it ends up happening. We put some of that cane sugar Mexican Coca-Cola in there. There you go, Rip. I'm with you. Let's do it. The new life. I like doing this show. I like the people. I recognize a lot of I do not recognize the new life. Aaron asking about JJ's weight as a freshman versus Underwood. I don't know, but I've got some pictures of Underwood. And I'm going to tell you about Underwood right now. Is that Underwood? I remember seeing a picture of him. Was he a freshman or a sophomore in high school at Belleville? I don't remember. But he was throwing this no-look Mahomes pass. And I thought that at that time, he was built like a pro quarterback. His trunk and his legs, I looked at it and said, this guy is a prodigy. You could see just in his frame. Sure, he was zipping the ball and no looking it in there, but just the way that he was built. Built a lot physically more mature than JJ, for sure. And also, I have been told, which I talked about last podcast, that Underwood, from somebody who has worked with him and has been close to the program, says that Underwood is way in front of where JJ is at this time right now. Here's that picture close up, taking it all out. And does this kid look like he's 17? No. No, he doesn't. If you handed this picture to folks out there and people that didn't know anything about football, like as a jury, hey, have you ever seen Michigan? No. How old is this guy? I think he'd get a lot of 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. He's got it. We've got a message coming in from MH Ortho, who says we need to pay the recruits and get some. Yeah, well, where you been, MHO? They are paying the recruits. They are getting some. I know you don't like the slowness of where they're at for 26, but I'm not sweating that. If any podcast that you're watching and the dudes are like, why are we getting this? I think almost every year, certainly since I've been here for now a couple years, and I see the different podcasters out there, and it probably makes for a lot of great views, and I got to get a lot of hits. But anybody that's freaking out about recruiting right now, I could go back and splash up some pretty big social media about how Michigan's going down the tubes because of recruiting. Even last year at this time, why is it? What's the Sharon can't recruit. The athletic directors holding up the purse strings. Those same people would be like, well, nobody expected Jolin to just jump in and, all of a sudden be the richest person in the world bankrolling Michigan. That was to in their defense. Nobody was talking about the richest person in the world, second richest person in the world, second richest person in the world's girlfriend. Bankrolling Michigan. I mean, where are we? I feel like I'm in another universe talking like that, but it's crazy. Come on now. We all are Bryce Underwood fans. There's no slight. I had a picture of a Jaden Davis. I believe this was on his Instagram as well. If I was just going on pictures, it would be a weird thing to do without watching anybody play. I would say that Jaden Davis would be a star. It was something that I thought about as I was, putting this picture in of Jaden Davis. He's throwing the football. Yeah, he looks like he's got a long release. Every photo going back when Michigan was recruiting him in high school, I was always like, oh, that's a pretty cool picture. Oh, that is a pretty cool picture. Jaden Davis is photogenic. Jaden Davis looks great in pictures. And in this picture right here, are you telling me how much, what else would you want in terms of a photo? Nothing. If Jaden Davis, and he probably has a lot to choose from, he was going out a lot of, you get an 8x11s and, the autograph hounds come after you and you can just pull those out and say, hey, or if I was an autograph hound, I would get this picture and I'd get 100 8x11 glossy photos, and then I would be tracking Jaden Davis down. And he'd be like, yeah, nice one. And then he would, I don't know how many he's not going to sign to 100 for you. But you might be able to get a couple. But Davis looks good in the pictures. Thank you, New Life. Yes, hit the like button. Why wouldn't you? Ripstar talking about Amarian Walker. Yeah, Amarian Walker. Amarian Walker, he had the number 1 jersey, and then he talking about buzz. I don't remember the exact timing, Rip, but Amarian Walker was doing some workout, like combine things, and they came out with his 3-cone time. And Amarian Walker did the best 3-cone on the team. He did the best 3-cone for Michigan ever. He did the best 3-cone for any college football player ever. And he did the best 3-cone time of any football player, NFL, in the history of 3-cone. Amarian Walker has the best time ever. Was that a cautionary tale? Don't put too much into to 3-cone? No, you love a measurables. You love speed in a tight space. You think a corner, wide receiver. He tried both. Man, that is great to have. But speaking of the spring game, I just go back and think about Amarian Walker 2 years ago, and it was Peyton O'Leary who looked like Steve Largent. It was working over Amarian Walker in the spring game. 5-yard out, 10-yard out, 15-yard out. Pepper him. I mean, they were going after Amarian Walker. They were hunting him. There he is. They just got to the let's go after Walker. He had an embarrassing spring game. And he was gone. He went to Ole Miss. And then he came in and he played wide receiver, and he can't catch. He got hurt. He can't. Got to be able to catch. And you got to be able to turn and, have the technique. You can have all that 3-cone in the world. And you can work on. The good thing for Amarian is he can work on those sort of things, but he gone as he hit the transfer portal. And my wife texting me. Might have to make this a short timeout. Let me give you the timeout for trivia answers while I send this text out to my wife. Hang on. There's your trivia question. All right. U of M has had 3 players chosen in the first round of the NFL draft on 2 occasions, 95 and 01. Oh, I like it when I'm like, emergency. And it's like, no, we just have good news. I'm thinking that my daughter is being accepted, which is very exciting. All right. Back to the trivia. Time out for trivia. Shout out to Todd Donahoe somewhere. Time out for trivia. U of M has had 3 players chosen in the first round of the NFL draft on 2 occasions, 95 and 01. How many of those can you name? Well, we had U of M noting Ty Wheatley and Ty Law in 95. And now we'll give you the third one there. And then in 2001, it was Terrell and Hutchinson. And, of course, Hutchinson went 17 and then to the Vikings. And then at number 18, the Lions took Backus. And these 2 guys, Backus for the 97 championship team as a redshirt freshman, played left tackle, and Hutchinson played right guard. These 2 were right next to each other, and then they got drafted right next to each other. Terrell was taken in the top 10, and then in 95, you had Wheatley and Law. What was it? Wheatley, was it the Raiders or the 49ers? He played for both. I'm going to say 49ers. Law to the Pats, and then Trezell Jenkins, nice offensive lineman. So give yourself a pat on the back if you knew those answers. It'd be nice to see Michigan get, 4 as we're talking about it. All right. I told you earlier, I don't know if you saw this news or not. It was about Tennessee's quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. I remember him coming into Tennessee. He broke the bank. He was getting, $6 million, $6 million deal or whatever for the Vols. Well, the news today is that Iamaleava is holding out of spring ball. He was a no-show for the start of spring ball, and it is the reports saying that it was related to NIL. So whatever that contract looked like for Tennessee, I would have thought, so this is already a couple of years, that the contract would have been, all right, here's your $6 or $7 million, Nico. This is going to cover you for your time at Tennessee for as long as you're there, but it must have It'd be really something if he had a contract and they were still spoon-feeding him. And he said, no, I'm still going to sit out unless I get more. I want more than Underwood. But these are the kind of things that should not surprise anyone out there. These guys are total free agents. They're always the agents are always going to be wanting more money. There's tons of money out there. You're a quarterback. You got them in a pretty tough, rock and a hard place. Yeah, hold out for spring, unless you're going to get that money. Now, it can really turn you off if you're a college football fan, and it might have already turned you off that it's more so much like the pros, and you hate contract squabbles, and nobody likes contract squabbles. People like talking about contract squabbles, but they don't like it, especially when it's your team. You'll turn on a player, to hell with them. But something to monitor the quarterback from Tennessee with it going down like that. All right. If you ask me, as we sit here with the spring game a week from tomorrow, what are the odds that Underwood is going to be the starting quarterback when the season opens? I say it is 90% right now. I have Mikey Keene, who has not practiced. He has injured here in the spring. I'll put him at 8%, and then I'll put Jaden Davis at 2%. This seems close to a lock that it's going to be Underwood. Could Keene, he's expected to come back. I don't know if he's going to practice at all here in the spring. But then is he really going to be able to, in the summer phase, and then in fall camp, just get up on the horse and beat Bryce Underwood? I'm not. I would not put my money on that. I've seen Mikey Keene. I saw Mikey Keene throw a pick six to Will Johnson last year. Nothing against Keene. Will Johnson's going to be a first-round pick. But I'm not thinking that Mikey Keene is going to push. Well, he might push Underwood, but I don't think he's going to push all the way, and Keene is going to be the starter. Now, I've had to rework almost every week my expectations and my thoughts for Underwood. At first, I was like, hey, if he doesn't start from game one, that doesn't mean he's going to be bad, or it's not, necessarily terrible news. But with Keene being out and Underwood just coming in and being put on national radio shows and talking about winning multiple Heismans, and now, he's the guy in spring, him and Jaden Davis. All signs point to, and then you listen to the players, all signs point to Bryce Underwood being the starter come August the 30th against New Mexico. And that's great. Would you like Keene? You don't want anyone to be hurt, and you'd like competition. You'd like, if that's some steel versus steel, sharpening it, all those things. But, you got to be available. And I'm sorry if I feel like I have, a Tuttle 2.0 vibes. I kept hearing about Jack Tuttle. Like, well, how's he look? Well, he's not practicing. I talked to somebody. I went down to a practice. Like, hey, how's Tuttle look? Like, I don't know. He's standing on the sideline. Looked pretty good on the sideline. Oh, he's back. No, now he's out for the fall. So I don't know if that's fair or not, but it is the way I feel. And that's what people want. They want to know how you feel. All right, we're getting ready to get to basketball. Aaron makes a good point about the Wi-Fi in the big house. It's a good point. He's saying he can barely get a signal. Yeah, but there's generally 30, but there'll probably be, I'm going to tack on an extra 40. And with the weather, maybe 50. That sounds a little high. 40,000? 40,000 still. I know it's 2025. I don't know how much they've worked on that, being able to handle the capacity. That's it. Richard is saying wine development is a part of Michigan lore. That's kind of some feedback that I wasn't really sure. Are you talking about like northern Michigan? I think up in Traverse City, I know there's a lot of wine happening. Line development. That's true. That makes a lot more sense. Wine development. Sure. Get that good vintage up there at Traverse City, that cherry wine, I guess, huh? Aaron's got it all down here. He knew Wheatley, Law, Tree, DT, Hutch, Bacchus. Nice job on the trivia. Yeah, people are talking about no phones. Sorry, Ferris. No phones at the big house. People talking about those live stream. Although Ferris coming back and saying, hey, maybe. How about, you could take your video and then right afterwards drive wherever you're at, where Wi-Fi is available, and you could do a little bit late than never, like an hour later. Ooh. There's going to be a lot of that going on. If you can't get that live signal, get your Connor Stallions going and, then afterwards, get it rolling out there. Yeah. Lloyd Carr did have a lot of great receivers during his tenure. And Eric Campbell, the wide receiver coach under Carr, he's now an analyst at Michigan. So you got that coming back. That's what's happened. Dave's talking about Connor Stallions. Yeah, let's do it. I don't know if I'm going through some of the feedback, and Aaron's didn't like the throwing motion in the still photo. We'll see. Garrison, hey, what's up, Garrison? You better watch out for that throwing motion, man. You know what it is? Back in the day, he was just exaggerating it for the photo. Like if I was taking a photo, sure, I could get over here and go this. But you know what? If I was doing a photo, I might go. There it is. That's like that. Long look, Garrison. Garrison is a little bit nervous about Michigan and Ohio State this year. He won a championship. He won the national championship. And at some point, I'm sure that night, he enjoyed it and had some grapes and a salad and everything else. And was like, man, this is what it's all about. And then he woke up the next day and somebody, took a shot at him online and said, yeah, but you didn't beat Michigan. And he's like, you know what? Damn it. You're right. Of course, you'd rather win a championship than win that game. But it's still there. It had to spoil your championship a little bit, Garrison. And I know this because I see you online a lot. And it's fine. You enjoy the back and forth with Michigan fans. If you were someone that didn't really care about Twitter or lobbing things back and forth, the rivalry stuff, nonstop, then you might say, yeah, you know what? I can honestly say it was all right. But not if you're someone that's embroiled in that, day-to-day, hand-to-hand combat stuff every day with Michigan fans. That really had to bother you. And I think it still does, if I'm going to be honest. Garrison, I think it bothers you. You won, but you really didn't. Garrison likes Bryce Underwood. That's it. Richard talking about Rod Laver. We're talking about the Australian tennis player from the 50s. I don't know. Maybe I didn't think we'd get a Rod Laver. Yeah, let's wait and see on the throwing motion. I saw now. It's if I'm going to make a checklist, and it's probably a good thing to do. Underwood's going to have a lot of different things. Anytime Underwood takes a step, it's going to be like, all right. Well, he kind of walks pigeon-toed. I don't know, whatever. It's going to be something like that. But yet Davis, how he throws the football is going to be definitely something that we're going to try to look at and what's happening, I don't know. Let's go. Let's do it. All right, basketball time. Couple more here. So we got a lot of football feedback coming in. Michigan Go Blue 1234 says he's not sure what was funnier: Ohio State running a draw on 3rd and 7 into the teeth of our D line, or not getting a single first down in the fourth quarter. Yeah, those both were really, I would say, real side splitters. I also thought that Jeremiah Smith only getting 35 yards was pretty comical. The greatest receiver of all time. Or Abuka only didn't have a target. What did he have? 50 yards? Or these two running backs that everybody, Henderson and Judkins, look at this combination when they get to the pros. What did those guys do? Did they even run for 75 yards put together in that game against Michigan? I mean, I know you guys went on and won the championship and everything, Garrison, but the falling flat on your face, falling flat is a pancake. At home, after you had lost 3 in a row to Michigan, it was a real, I mean, you just can't stop laughing. Let's say if I ever had laughing gas, where you just uncontrollable laughter. You don't need laughing gas or mushrooms. You just need to watch Michigan, Ohio State. And after a while, your side is going to start to hurt watching it. Whew. That's it. All right, college basketball. I know one thing, Garrison, you'll probably, you might have stayed around for some of the insults for football, but we're going to run you off talking basketball. We do know that. OSU is in a financial crisis right now. They can't afford Nico. Go get the quarterback. Kind of says Jaden doesn't get no respect. No, he's not, for me, he's not getting around. I like Jaden Davis. I just don't think that's just my feeling. You want me to give you my honest opinion? That's it. You want me to be like a coach and say, I think I'll go 33% for Underwood, 33% for Keene, and 33% for Davis. That's coach talk. I'm no coach. So there we get. Yeah, this is it. Sam's in on it. Put Bryce in game 1 and let him cook. I mean, right to the point, Sam. And it really just says it all. Underwood, game 1, cook. 3 points, right to, and you're right at it. That's it. Great job. Very impressed by that. With all of that. Oh, Sammy Baugh. I see we're catching up now to what people were saying. It's good to see Garrison. Garrison, you should, you only show up after a couple months after winning a championship. And, we're wondering what's up. All right, so let's go to basketball. But first, we got a big bag from THS. Let's do it. THS, give me a question. Give me your favorite. What do you want to know about? What are you looking at when it comes down? You want some hockey talk? You want some? What are you thinking? You tell me. I'll tell you that Michigan just got a commitment from the big Spaniard, and they officially got Elliot Cadeau, the guard from North Carolina, and Moraz Johnson Jr. from Illinois, who has the gigantic wingspan. And then what was happening is that you had Yaxel say that he's 80-20. 80 going to the NBA, 20 to going to Michigan. And then there was like, well, is it really Michigan? Is there somebody else that could get in there? Sure, there always is. I don't think it's quite 80-20. I was talking with somebody saying, well, let's see if he's really going to the Chicago or if he's just going to end up going somewhere like Portsmouth. I mean, you got to get an invite. Let's see that. But this will play out. Of course, he could get a guarantee, one of those half dozen players in the first 6 picks of the second round or late in the first round. Of course, he would be gone. But Michigan's in with a chance. Justin is talking about it being a 60-40. I'll say more 70-30 NBA, but hey, if I want to, I would like it to be 70-30 that he goes to Michigan. If they get Yaxel, it feels like Michigan is, next year you're feeling like this could be I don't want to say Final Four team, but I'll say it, Final Four team. That they'll be the team to pick to beat in the Big Ten, and why not? I'm going to say that, you feel like that they could be going to the Final Four. Yeah, the news is that Michigan gets Ade Mara, the 7'3" Spaniard, who's throwing down a dunk in this picture. And I have not watched Ade. I haven't watched a minute of Ade. But he's 19 years old, and he's 7'3". Jonathan Giovanni, who's a draft dude, said that Mara had a breakout sophomore campaign, and he's one of the most coveted big men in the portal. I was going to put this up on the screen, but it didn't look good, so I'm going to just read it to you. This is from Bruin Report. This is what Bruin Report had to say about Ade Mara. Multiple sources saying that Mara plans to play elsewhere. There was a breakdown in negotiations with the UCLA and Mara, so that's why he would put himself out there. But here's what they had to say about him. The 7'3" standout flourished in the back half of his sophomore season and finished the year averaging 6'4" and a team-leading 1.6 blocks and just over 13 minutes off the bench. They also say that Mara displayed a tremendous passing touch, making him a nightmare matchup, who was only held back by what head coach Mick Cronin called conditioning issues that were hampered by a norovirus illness that spread throughout the team in February. High praise. He really started picking it up in the back half of the season and would have been even better if he wasn't hit with his illness. Tremendous passing touch. Matchup nightmare, 7'3". I'm here for it. Sounds pretty good. Sounds more than pretty good. Sounds excellent. So, you got Mara at 7'3", and then you got these two dudes, Cadeau and Johnson, and then the possibility of Lindenborg. I mean, it feels like Michigan's like the blue blood in basketball. I mean, Kentucky, if Duke was rolling in these guys, you'd be like, well, Duke's going to be right back at it. Michigan's playing big boy basketball. Dusty is cooking. 7'3", and it's all happening. And there it is. Somebody asking about hockey because I mentioned it. They got Hage and Hughes. Wait, Hage and was it TJ coming back? Hughes. Hage and Hughes. Actually kind of tough to string those two names together and pronounce it, but both of those guys are awesome. I like watching both of those guys play, and I thought Hughes going to get picked up, and he would be off into the NHL, maybe into the playoffs with that scoring touch that he has, and Hage was the first-round selection of the Canadiens, so I thought maybe, but another year of seasoning for Hage, and I agree, get a goalie. It's always going to be pretty important, right? We're talking hockey. Thanks so much again. We're always our THS coming in. It's nice to see. Helps the show out. It's going to be a great time in the town tonight. Let's go. Let's doing it. So, recapping. Michigan looking for 3 first-round picks in the NFL draft coming up. That would be the third time that they would do that. And it's looking like Underwood is going to be the guy. We got the spring game coming up a week from tomorrow. And Dusty is rolling in the transfer portal, putting together his team, and things look great for the Michigan basketball program. Thanks so much for joining us. And we'll be with you, of course, on Monday. And we'll be looking forward to what's going down on Saturday. And let's do it. We got here Justin's talking about he's coaching high school hockey. I love coaches. You guys are the real deal. You guys work your tails off. It's all about the kids. And then you guys know the game. Justin says we need to give Sean McGee a pay raise. Yeah, I don't know about maybe Michigan's been doing a good job, and McGee's the GM, so maybe that he deserves a raise. He's out there that might go to Navy, but I think Michigan will be all right with however it ends up playing out with McGee. So that's it. Thank you, Rip. It's all good, and we will talk with you on Monday. It'll be spring week, game week. See the sunshine out. I'm going to go try living it up. Take care, man. Mar, it's all good. We'll see you over on the Maize and Blue Review. Take care. Have a great day.